Congratulations, you got promoted. Your name is on the org chart, but your team is looking to you for answers. And somewhere between the handshake at the end of your promotion meeting and leading your first team meeting, that voice in the back of your head said, "Well, what do I actually do now?" If that is where you are right now, or if you're heading in that direction, stay put. In this episode, we're going to cover everything that they didn't tell you when they handed you the job. Let me start off by telling you about a guy named Marcus. Marcus was one of the best salespeople at his company, consistently at the top of the leaderboard. Clients loved him. His boss loved him. When the regional sales manager gig opened up, putting Marcus in that slot felt like a no-brainer to everyone in the building. 3 months later, Marcus was miserable. His best rep was underperforming because Marcus had quietly taken over her biggest accounts to protect the numbers. Two people on his team had stopped bringing him problems because his default move was to just solve them himself rather than coach anyone through them. And Marcus was grinding out 60-hour weeks and drowning in meetings that he did not know how to run and wondering why he ever said yes to the gig in the first place. Marcus wasn't a bad manager. He just had zero tools for the job. And that is an all too common story in management. It's not a Marcus problem. It's a systems problem. We take our best performers and hand them a title and maybe toss a LinkedIn congratulations their way, and then give them zero preparation for the hardest professional shift that they'll ever make. Today, we're fixing that. We're going to talk about the identity shift that trips up almost every new manager, the delegation trap that burns people out in year one, and the 5 hard truths that most first-time managers learn the hard way, and the specific things that you can do this week to build a foundation that holds. Before we get into tactics, I need you to understand something foundational. Becoming a manager isn't a promotion. It's a career change. When you were an individual contributor on the team, your value was your output. You wrote the code, you closed the deal, you designed the thing. Your results were visible and direct. You knew at the end of the day whether you had done a good job because you could see it. Management doesn't work like that. As a manager, your results are delayed and indirect and filtered through other people. You might do everything right on a Monday and not see the payoff until 6 weeks from now. You might have a conversation today that shapes how somebody thinks about their career for the next 2 years. The feedback loop is long and quiet. And for high performers that are used to a scoreboard, that is deeply disorienting. High performers are addicted to results, which isn't a bad thing. They want to know when they're winning, and they need a visible scoreboard. Management doesn't offer that in real time. Your win as a manager is when your team solves a problem without needing you. Your win is when someone you developed gets promoted. Your win is when a new hire gets up and running in 4 weeks instead of 8, because the systems that you built actually work. These wins are real and they're meaningful. They just don't look like what you're used to. If you cannot make that shift, if you cannot let go of being the star performer, management will break you. Not because you're not talented, but because you're still playing the wrong game. Let's talk about the thing that burns out new managers more than anything else. It's not conflict. It's not difficult personalities. It's delegation, specifically the failure to do it. When I ask new managers why they hold on to so much work themselves, I get variations on the same 3 answers every single time. It's faster if I do it myself. I know how to do it right. Or I don't want to overwhelm my team. All three of these feel reasonable. None of them are true in the way that the manager thinks. It's faster if I do it myself is only true in the short run. In the long run, all you've done is build a team that cannot function without you. And that is now your permanent problem. The I know how to do it right may well be true, but your job isn't to produce the right output. Your job is to build the people who produce the right output. And the I don't want to overwhelm my team is actually about your own discomfort with the conversation necessary to hand something off. And that's what we're sitting with. Here's what actually happens every time that you refuse to delegate. Number one is you're signaling to your team that you do not trust them. Number two, you're robbing them of the chance to grow. Number three, you're creating a bottleneck with your name on it. And number four, you're building an operation that falls apart every time you take a vacation. Good delegation is not just pointing at something and walking away. It's a conversation. It explains the outcomes that you need, not the exact steps to get there. It's giving people the context for why the work matters. It's checking in at the right moments without hovering. It's catching the mistake before it becomes a crisis and then using it as a teaching moment instead of a reason to take the task back. Real delegation takes more time up front than just doing it yourself. It pays off exponentially over time. That is the math of management, and you have to choose to believe in it. All right, so let's go through the 5 things that almost every first time manager learns the hard way. I'm going to give them to you straight so that you can skip the painful part. Hard truth number one, your team doesn't need a friend, they need a leader. This one stings a little, especially if you are stepping into management from within a team that you already have friendships and relationships. Some of those relationships will need to shift, not because you're a different person, but because your role is different. You can be warm. You can certainly be genuinely interested in the people that you lead. You absolutely should be. But if your primary need is to be liked, then you will avoid the hard conversations that you need to have. You'll let problems linger because addressing them feels like a social risk. You'll make decisions based on who might be upset rather than what the team actually needs. The managers that people remember and talk about years later are not the ones who let things slide. They're the ones who cared enough to tell the truth. Hard truth number two, conflict avoided is conflict compounded. Every hard conversation that you do not have today becomes a harder conversation tomorrow. The teammate who is missing deadlines will not just wake up and self-correct on Tuesday. The tension between two team members will not resolve itself next weekend. The performance issue that you have been internally labeling as just a rough patch will calcify into a real problem. Address things early, address them directly, and address them with care. You're not trying to make someone feel bad. You're giving them the information that they need to do their job well. That's not cruelty. That's the job. Hard truth number three, not everyone on your team wants the same thing. Some people want to grow fast. Some people want to master the skill deeply over a long time. And some folks are excellent contributors who have zero interest in becoming managers themselves. Some people are 2 years away from retirement and all they want is to be respected and left alone to do good work. If you manage all of them the same way, you will fail all of them. Your job is to understand what each person on your team actually needs and then manage to that. This requires real listening, not the kind where you start planning your response while they're still talking, but the kind where you're trying to understand what is actually true for another person. Hard truth number four, your first 30 days should be mostly listening. New managers often want to prove themselves quickly, and I understand that completely. You got the role for a reason. You've got ideas and you could already see things that aren't working as well as they could be. And you want to show your boss that the decision to put you in the role was the right one. Resist the urge to fix everything in the first month. Before you change anything, understand everything. Sit down with every person on your team, not to evaluate them, but to understand them. What are they working on? What's going well? What's getting in their way? What do they wish was different? If you go into those conversations looking for problems to solve, you will miss the more important information. Go in looking to understand. The changes that you make after those conversations will be informed, well positioned, and actually effective. The changes that you make before them are a gamble. Hard truth number 5: asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. There's a version of the new manager who believes that admitting uncertainty undermines their authority. And that person is wrong. And everyone around them knows it. The best managers I've ever encountered are relentlessly curious. They ask their teams for honest feedback on their own performance. They find mentors. They read. They go to events. They watch videos or listen to podcasts like this one. Not because they're insecure, because they understand that personal growth is directly tied to the team's ceiling. When you stop learning, your team stops growing. It's that direct. We've spent a lot of time so far naming the traps. So now let's build something. The first step is to get your expectations crystal clear. Every team problem, traced back far enough, is one of two things: either a communication failure or an expectation failure. Your team cannot consistently deliver what they do not fully understand. And what seems obvious to you is almost never as clear to your team as you think it is. Sometime this week, pick one project or ongoing responsibility that's on your team's plate. Write down in specific, concrete terms what success actually looks like. Not vague, not general. What does done mean? What's the timeline? What are the non negotiables? And what would make you say, yeah, you nailed it? Now, share that with people responsible and ask them to reflect it back to you. The gaps between your description and theirs are your first management project. Close those gaps, and you will immediately feel the team start to operate differently. Second is to build a one-on-one rhythm that actually works. One-on-ones are not just status updates. If your recurring meetings are mostly, here's what I'm working on this week, then you're leaving the most valuable part of that conversation on the table. The best one-on-ones are about the person, not the project. The what's blocking you right now, or what are you most excited about in your day? What's one thing that I could do to make your job easier? Where are you trying to grow to in the next 6 months? And how can I help with that? Those types of questions change the relationship. And that relationship is the foundation of everything that you're trying to build. Third is to give feedback as if it were a normal part of the work, because it is. Feedback is not a performance review. It's not a quarterly conversation. It's daily management behavior. Great managers give feedback in real time about specific things tied to real outcomes. Not a, that was great. Not a, that was rough. Try this instead. The way you handled that client question in the meeting showed real growth. And that was different from 3 months ago. And I want you to know that I noticed it. Or the recommendation in that proposal needs to be on page 1. Clients will not read all the way to page 4 to find the answer. So here's what that could look like. One type of feedback closes a conversation. The other type opens one and grows someone and builds trust simultaneously. Fourth is to make decisions and own them. Teams do not thrive under indecisive leadership. Your team doesn't need you to be right every single time. They need you to be clear, consistent, and willing to call it. When a decision needs to be made, make it. Explain your thinking transparently and tell your team what you're doing and why. And if and when you get it wrong, say so directly and immediately and without drama. Course correct and move on. The fastest way to build trust is to own a mistake clearly. The fastest way to destroy trust is to pretend that you were never wrong or to let somebody else take the fall. Fifth is to create a feedback loop that runs in both directions. Ask your team how you're doing as their manager. I know it's uncomfortable, but do it anyway. Ask them what is working and what they wish that you did differently. And ask if there are things that are getting in their way that you just haven't noticed yet. This kind of honest, upward feedback is the fastest way to find your own blind spots. Every manager has them. The ones who acknowledge that fact are the ones who actually get better over time. Here's the thing about management. Nobody does it perfectly in year one. The managers who become exceptional are not the ones who had it figured out from the start. They're the ones who kept showing up, kept having the hard conversations, kept developing their people, and kept asking what they could do better. Management is a practice, not a destination that you reach and then park at. You're going to make wrong calls. You're going to have hard conversations that do not go perfectly. You're going to disappoint someone, miss something, and wish you had handled a situation differently. That's not failure. That's the job. What separates great managers from forgettable ones is not the absence of mistakes. It's what they do after. They reflect, they adjust, and they come back and address it. We treat every challenge as information, not defeat. If you're heading into your first management role, here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing from today, just one thing. Have the conversation that you've been avoiding. Clarify the expectation that is fuzzy right now. Run your next one-on-one about the person and not the status update. Leadership compounds. The small, consistent moves that you make today are how you build something worth leading. If this episode was useful to you, please share it with somebody who's stepping into your first management or leadership role. That's exactly who it's for. And for more on management, leadership, and building teams that actually perform, head on over to toby-talks.com. As always, I'm Toby Hoy, and thanks for spending some of your time with me, and we'll see you in the next one.